we're back at the table here. Let me make some introductions here real quick. Back on the show, we appreciate it, from the St. Louis Business Journal, Amir Kurtovic. Thank you for being here. Christy Maxfield, president of Mission Center. Thank you for being here with us as well. And from I-10, we just heard mentioned, the executive director just happens to be here. We were setting you up there. Jim Brasunas is here with us. We just heard 18 months, in the last 18 months, that this has really changed in St. Louis. Do you believe that? We're at a tipping point, was the word.
Certainly in the last 18 months, I think it's become much more visible. You know, we're on TV, okay, for one thing. But it's really been building for a number of years. And I-10 we started about 5 years ago, and our aim was to help create the ecosystem that now is starting to blossom. So there's been a lot of groundwork laid. Just like building a house, you know, you don't get to go into the living room or dining room and have dinner until you lay the foundation and build, you know. So we've been doing that building for quite a while. And so I think the fruits are starting to be seen. It's very exciting, but we're really just at the beginning of the process.
It's more fun to pick out furniture than pour concrete.
It is, and it's not as much work either.
And you know, it's been fits and starts. I mean, what Jim didn't mention is that before they started I-10, he actually had a incubator downtown that was looking to incubate technology companies, and there weren't enough of them around to keep it going. So that's, I mean, if I understand the history correct, that's kind of where I-10 came from.
And not only were there not that many around, but they didn't want to come downtown either. Now you've got T-Rex, everybody wants to be downtown. Downtown's a place to be. I mean, that's a really cool part of what's happening, at least on the tech side of the ecosystem, is that it's also revitalizing downtown. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening downtown.
And I think we're still pouring concrete when it comes to social entrepreneurship. When I moved here in 2005 from New York, those terms, social entrepreneurship, venture capitalism, were just starting to bubble up in the nonprofit community.
And before you go any further, what is social entrepreneurship?
Well, there's no one definition, and you'll get a lot of folks who have different opinions, but I think most simply it's applying traditional entrepreneurial thinking, innovation, disruption, creativity to changing the world, solving the world's problems, and really taking those things to a whole new level. And when we look in our own community, when we look at the Blessing Basket and the way that they've transformed not only the work at WashU, but the work around the world, we see tremendous growth and new ways of tackling huge systemic problems. So when I moved here, it was a community that had self-identified for decades as social entrepreneurs who were learning and thriving off of each other, and it's only blossomed even more through the universities and through other networks. But we're still building our ecosystem step by step.
One part of it that is blossoming that you can really say is kind of this young spirit that's all of a sudden captivating the region. And it's not necessarily just young people, but it's the spirit of youth and of excitement. Our community has been down for a long time, and I think you know, it's pretty well known that St. Louis has a little bit of a, let's say, a very modest opinion of itself. So when this new stuff starts happening, it gives everybody a reason to sort of feel good, and there's a lot of excitement because of that. What we're seeing, and I think what's really at the core of what's going on, is an idea of, and I think you'll hear it from Brad Feld a little bit later in the program, give first. In other words, entrepreneurship, it's still at the young stage, and we need more and more people to give first and worry about the fruits later. You know, encouraging people to say, oh, hey, how can I make a buck out of this? That'll come in good time as the economic development really kicks in. But really, to keep the spirit going here in St. Louis, if we encourage the attitude of giving first and let everything else take care of itself, I think that's what's really at the root of the great stuff that's starting to happen here.
I couldn't agree more. As a traditional fundraiser, the adage is always you have to make your gift first before you can ask other people to do that. And so for us to expect outside investors to bring a tremendous amount of capital to St. Louis when we ourselves aren't willing to put those dollars in, it's just unreasonable. So we need to free up that capital. We've got to get it out of people's banks and out from under mattresses and really throw it at ideas. That risk taking is what creates innovation, and innovation is what's going to make a city thrive, and it's going to make people want to stay here. You know, we wrestle a lot with how do we keep our WashU graduates here, how do we keep our SLU graduates here and our UMSL graduates. We keep them here when exciting things are going on, when they feel the ability to contribute and to take risks and be innovative, and not the need to go somewhere else to have their ideas come to fruition.
You talked that there's a young feeling, whether it's by age or by spirit. Is there a change in our risk-taking attitude? You know, one of our accomplished columnists and contributor to the Nine Network likes to talk about all of the risk takers moved west and left us here with a risk-averse gene pool.
Well, here, I'll give you one story. So there's an interesting startup called Jurastat. I'll pick on them, which is a startup that was founded at Startup Weekend last year. Startup Weekend is this thing where a bunch of people come together for a weekend. They all just say what they would like to do, and then they spend the whole weekend together coming up and building a product. So this was started last year. It was started by a lawyer, a tri-lawyer, a young guy, but still a lawyer, and a programmer who had a good job at a kind of manufacturing company, I think. And they built this product over the weekend. They kept working on it on and off, and then they got $50,000 seed funding from Capital Innovators, and they both left their jobs. So that's kind of and that's a risk. I mean, if you're, there's not a lot of law jobs to go around right now. I think that's kind of
and we're
something.
Seeing a lot of that. In I-10, we work with over 200 tech companies, and these are people that are really taking risk, and they have to do a lot of investment of their own time and sweat equity before they can even get to the point where they can ask for other people's money, because they just don't have anything. So celebrating what we're doing here, like with the new website that was just launched, accelerate-stlouis.com, .org, that's a great way for the community to kind of have a place not only to celebrate itself, but also to show to everybody else what's going on.
And I think the risk takers are here. They're the entrepreneurs who are stepping out. I left my job and went months without pay because this is what I wanted to do. My co-founder did the same thing. What we need is the risk takers on the capital side.
Okay.